So most of the time, people try to avoid the thought of death because even though it is inevitable, there's no way to know when or how someone's going to pass, unless you yourself are the one orchestrating it. And I realized that at a fairly young age. And you must be thinking, something really negative must have happened to this girl to make her think about death at such a young age. And I'm just here to say that I had a fairly normal childhood, even though there were some things within myself that I needed to work on. I was born into a family consisting of my mom, my dad, and my older brother RJ on November 26, 1997. We had a very fun family, and I had a really great childhood. And my parents always had whatever we needed and gave us most of the things that we wanted within reason. As I got older, I began to realize that I was different. Certain things made me really anxious, and they seem really strange. For example, whenever I was younger, my mom would ask if I wanted to go through a drive-thru, and I would just get really anxious about it because in my mind, I thought that if we went through the drive-thru and got a $3 kids meal, we were somehow going to end up bankrupt. And then also in school, I began to become very antisocial, and I just would cry a lot for really no reason at all, just because the thought of being around people, even 20 other peers, just made me feel really nervous. I was pretty good at hiding my anxiety at first, but once again, as I got older, more people began to notice that weren't just me. One of my most vivid memories of elementary school is one day on the playground at recess when this boy came up to me, and he basically just told me that if I killed myself, no one would really care. And at that point, that's what I thought was true. Before my life had even really began, I had been thinking about ending it. He put that thought in my head at such a young age, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't really know what I was about to do to myself. That day that he told me that was the day that I began to self-harm. At first, it was just little things, like I would just unconsciously scratch my arms or just have like surface scratches on me that really most kids have because of running around and stuff like that, so no one really noticed. As I got older and throughout middle school, things became a lot worse for me. I had been stuck in this habit of self-harm, and it was just a vicious cycle that I really, as much as I tried to break it, I really couldn't. I had a few friends who knew that I was going through these difficulties, but no one really said anything to any adults, and no one just really knew how to handle it because we're still only teenagers. There really wasn't anything that had led them to know what to do in this type of situation. And then as I continued throughout middle school, I became just even more upset with myself, and I just didn't like the person I was. There was a point when I had told myself that I just didn't want to live to see graduation or my 18th birthday or any of these things that most kids look forward to. I did a pretty good job at hiding these things because I didn't want people to be disappointed in me, and I didn't want people to see that I wasn't the happy person that they thought I was. I began dressing differently and wearing bright colors and just dyeing my hair weird colors because I thought if no one saw my cries for help, then even if I dressed differently and looked differently, I would still be invisible, and that's really all that I wanted. That all changed the night before my freshman year when my brother noticed that I had been self-harming, and he told my parents. And the morning of freshman year, I had literally no sleep at all, and I spent the whole night crying. And I thought, if this is how high school's gonna go, then the people who say that high school is the best times of your life are obviously very wrong. However, I've learned a lot from the person that I was back then to the person I became today. I'm very grateful that my brother was able to stand up and tell my parents that I was going through these things, because without him, I wouldn't be standing here today. Now, I have realized that the things I did, I really don't know why I did them. and a lot of people who haven't self-harmed or don't know anyone who has a mental illness don't understand. And a lot of the times, I don't even understand why I did what I did. But it's something that now I have to live with and I have to accept it. I still struggle every day with my depression and my anxiety, but I found a way to cope with these issues, and I can deal with the person that I once was and the person I've grown to be. So sometimes I think back on that day when I thought that I didn't want to graduate high school. And now I look at it, and I'm 2 months away from graduation. I'm going to college, and I am looking forward to a bright future that I have. As I learned throughout my struggles, that you can never blame yourself for the things that you're going through. Everyone goes through things, and everyone has their own struggles. And I figure that if I'm able to stand up here and tell my story, then if that even helps one person, I will relive any pain that I feel as many times as I have to if it's going to help one person. But that doesn't just end with me telling my story. That's not all it takes to change. It takes a village to change and accept people. It takes a society to realize that everyone is fighting their own battles, and we need to understand those battles and be sympathetic towards them. And everyone has their own demons, and the main point is that you personally need to keep fighting your demons no matter what. Things will be really difficult, and it's going to seem like things don't get better, but I promise you that I'm just one example that they do get better. So just keep fighting the demons you have, and everything will turn out okay. Thank you.